Hello, and welcome to Anime Audio Commentary. Today I'll be commenting on Episode 7 of Code Geass R2. If you'd like to watch along, then start watching now. So last we left off, Lelouch was having a rough go of things. You know, there was the revelation that not only is still alive and well, relatively speaking, but she's going to be the new Governor General of Area 11, which is, so far as the show is concerned, a rather short-lived position for any involved. So Lelouch made a daring plan to kidnap her as Zero, and unfortunately things didn't quite work out. You know, Suzaku barged in and escaped with her, so, you know, things aren't exactly ideal. And more to the point, the Emperor here is giving a rather interesting speech about how things like, you know, don't steal, be faithful, don't murder, those are all lies society tells you. What did he mean by this? You know, thinking about it, I guess it makes sense what the Emperor is saying, seeing as how he seems to be something of a social Darwinist. But, it's interesting that Rollo and Lelouch are still, you know, sort of on friendly terms. It would make sense from Rollo's perspective, knowing what happened, but I feel like, Okay, so Rollo's lying for Lelouch's benefit, so I think that's a pretty good indication that he's, you know, on Lelouch's side. Ah, man. So Lelouch has got a big problem here in that not only is probably going to be under lock and key even more so than before. Man. Yeah, I feel like it's unfortunate that he sort of blew his one chance here. Man. Yeah, the situation is very tense indeed, because I don't think there's going to be another opportunity to get Nunnally back like that, and she's certainly not, you know, remarkably safe in the hands of the Britannian Empire. You know, like the normal danger would be that Zero and the Black Knights would do him in, but you know, we don't really have to worry about that. I guess the idea is that Nunnally is now leverage. And I think it's safe to say that this is probably weighing heavily on Lelouch, thus disrupting his school life. So, what I'm wondering is, are we about due for like a school hijinks episode? Because we did have a few of those in R1. I mean, maybe not, considering the Governor General is going to be speaking to the school. Wow. 87th successor to the throne. That's, pretty far back. You know, because I feel like Clovis was considerably higher up in the rankings, and Cornelia was like third in line or something like that. Man. So I guess, like, nobody remembers Nunnally, which I guess it makes sense that this whole farce was to remain in effect, but... I mean, maybe not, considering the Governor General is going to be speaking to the school. Wow. 87th successor to the throne. That's pretty far back. You know, because I feel like Clovis was considerably higher up in the rankings, and Cornelia was like third in line or something like that. Man. So I guess, like, nobody remembers Nunnally, which I guess it makes sense that this whole farce was to remain in effect, but... I feel like the Emperor really took great pains to ensure this thing went off without a hitch. And, as nice as Nunnally's speech was up until now, the idea that she's reestablishing the special zone of Nippon, I'm sure everyone remembers what happened previously. And, even if a lot of people agree with the sentiment, the idea that a whole bunch of people got massacred last time, I feel like they're not going to go for it. They might be wrong. Nunnally might have good intentions and all that, but, I bet they'd feel really silly if they went to a stadium and all got shot again. Granted, they wouldn't have too much time to feel silly about it before dying, but man, I really hope this isn't drawing a parallel between Nunnally and Euphemia, which is to say, Nunnally is not long for this world. And I guess there's also the issue of Suzaku, because he was, rather close to Euphemia, and, she didn't survive, so... I mean, Suzaku seems to be taking it relatively well so far, Nunnally's not doing it to be crass or to take, a shot at Euphemia, oh, she didn't succeed, but I will, so, I guess it's nice that Suzaku isn't taking out his anger on a poor crippled girl. Even if that is the case, even if Suzaku is perfectly willing to stand behind this decision, I still get the feeling that things aren't going to be good for Nunnally, It's a bad feeling. I wish I didn't feel that way. I wish Nunnally nothing but the best, as a matter of fact, but I don't know. There's a lot of stuff going on here. And speaking of a lot of stuff, Lelouch, snapped his little communicator or his phone there and threw it out a window. When you take that, and you consider that the name of the episode is The Discarded Mask, I get the feeling that Lelouch is, hanging up the costume for good, so to speak. Which, I can see why he would come to that conclusion that, maybe he's no longer needed. If Nunnally is going through official channels and Suzaku has essentially achieved his stated goal of changing things from within, do you really need a violent revolutionary if the system is working? The answer, of course, is no, because really you only just cause more violence and bloodshed unnecessarily. But at the same time, I'm not entirely convinced that Zero's just gonna go away. Ooh. Yeah, so I'm willing to bet that things aren't over just because Suzaku's going after the Order of the Black Knights, trying to hunt them down and all that. I feel like, one way or another, Lelouch is probably going to get caught up in the crossfire and have to, hop back into action. Ooh. So this is interesting that he would Geass everyone and just send them out of the train car. But more importantly, there's a little Pizza Hut advertisement, and it's always nice to see it. Now, I get the feeling that Rollo is doing this on purpose. He's trying to unsettle Lelouch, which makes me wonder about his overall loyalty. He might be trying something here, I don't know. Man, Lelouch is suffering. This is, highly unusual. Now this is not good. That Suzaku's saying, I lied to Nunnally. He doesn't specify what he was lying about, but, man, that bodes poorly, Ooh. So it looks like a little drug exchange here. I'm wondering if that's, I Oh, what was the drug called? It was like Halcyon or something like that? Like, a drug that makes you remember the better times? I mean, that seemed to be something that was, like, traded mainly among the 11s, so it kind of checks out that that would be in play here. Now, I'm wondering what precisely Lelouch is up to here. Why he's just, going around back alleys and things like that. I mean, he's made a point here by using his Geass on these street thugs, but I mean, I feel like giving no clear duration for these activities, these guys are just going to do this until they drop dead, which, the wanton cruelty of it is not great. Huh. So, the idea is that, like, it's sort of percolating that Zero might have quit, but C2's not buying it. If he would quit over something so small, then, like, we would never be here in the first place. I can't help but thinking there's some merit to that, just because, from a meta perspective, there's still 18 episodes left. But at the same time, with the stuff brewing about Suzaku saying, oh, I lied to Nunnally, and Lelouch sort of conceding that she's probably relatively safe for now. Oh dear. So this is something. Lelouch was gonna inject that Halcyon or whatever it's called, and Callan caught him. And astute viewers will remember that Callan's mother was a user of the same drug way back in, like, episode 5 or something. Refrain, that's what it's called. But, yeah. So, that's very appealing for someone who's living through a rather unfortunate time, to relive happier memories. But at the same time, just shooting up and tuning out of society isn't the way to go about doing things, You're never going to achieve your goals unless you actually work towards achieving your goals. And, whoa, buddy. Lelouch is just having a real one right now. I feel like this isn't the solution to his problems either. And, maybe the slap wasn't warranted, but Callan is right in that things are, fraying at the ends. It's very telling that she's saying to him, like, I don't care if you are manipulating us and deceiving us, just, like, at least stick to that until the end. Hopefully that was the kick in the rear he needed, but I get the feeling that maybe it isn't. I can't imagine Rollo's going to help the situation, Lelouch having privately stated his disdain for him, but, I don't know. Like, Rollo has been sort of nominally supportive, so I don't know. Maybe this will be beneficial in the long run. Ooh. Interesting. So Rollo's convincing him to stop being Zero, to return to being a student and all that, for Nunnally's sake, for the sake of Area 11, for your own sake. Ooh. Ooh, and the cherry on top is that, Rollo's like, okay, I won't abandon you. That's not the cherry on top that he seems to think it is, I feel like, if anything, that would spur Lelouch back into action. Man. This is interesting that Nunnally is talking to the Emperor, talking up Lelouch, like, I would want to do something that my brother would approve of. He protected me and all that. And, though I don't know where he is now, I would still want to act in such a way that he would agree with. Which, that's rather bold to say to the Emperor, who says, when society tells you not to murder, they're lying to you. Ooh. So it seems like they've been busted. It's never a good thing when you are ordered by an authority to line up on the deck of your vessel without arms. I think that's usually a pretty good sign that things are about to go very bad indeed, and you really shouldn't do what they tell you. But that said, if you don't, then the only answer is open conflict. So, maybe this is what Lelouch needs. His student council friends have decided not to go on a field trip because they didn't want to go without him. So they're, firing off leftover fireworks and, they've got like a little paper crane which you make a wish on and all that. Ooh. So the plot's kind of thickening here. Surely, obviously she's not, spoiling her wish, but the idea is that, she wanted Lelouch here, so... Ah, boy. It's unfortunate that Lelouch is aware of everyone who isn't here. Yeah, that's gotta be hard. I can certainly understand the appeal of refrain at a time like this. So I guess the question is, knowing what he knows now, what is he going to do about it? Because I feel like this is almost like Gurren Lagann when Simon was going through his rough patch. And essentially, he got out of it thanks to Nia Tepelin, essentially reassuring him. So, I'm wondering if that's what's going to be happening here, more or less. Lelouch is uncertain about the past, uncertain about the future, not sure about what path to take, and now, someone, I guess, the entirety of the council, or maybe just Shirley, they intervene and say, look, man, you gotta keep moving forward. I know things might be tough, but... Well, I guess they don't even really have to reassure him. Just the idea of having fireworks among friends is enough, I guess. Oh boy. So I guess the Black Knights have their work cut out for them. Now, I guess it's not entirely clear whether Suzaku gave them time to follow orders or if he just, bombarded them outright. I'm inclined to lean towards the latter, because that seems to be the level of ruthlessness he's on these days. But I can't help but be a bit reminded of Lelouch in that, you say one thing and anyone operating in good faith would be essentially sucker punched. I mean, Suzaku's sort of learned the hard way that honor doesn't really get you anything, but at the same time, that doesn't mean you should abandon honor. Man, so things aren't exactly looking good. They're springing leaks all over their submarines, they're being bombarded on all sides, and then there are, little submersible nightmare frames after them. This is just one of those things where I'm really glad I'm not on a submarine. So, it seems like things are sort of working out now. Lelouch has shown up in the nick of time to issue orders, but with a situation like this, I'm not sure how much he can really do, I mean, he seems to be giving apparently nonsensical orders that everyone else are taking on blind faith, so I guess, clearly he knows something you don't. Now, it seems like it was a mistake, by firing the torpedoes, you essentially give away your position. But I'm hoping, there's something no one else has really accounted for, like, well, I guess, whatever this is, like some sort of undersea complex. So I guess the torpedoes are going off, but the question is, what is this complex? Like, it's gotta be some sort of undersea base or something, but just by, detonating those torpedoes, they're creating a massive, riptide or something. Ooh. Methane hydrate. That's not good in my mind. Methane, of course, being highly flammable, but what I do know is, if there's a mass of bubbles underwater, this will mess with the buoyancy of ships and submarines. Okay. Yeah, so he's managed to, capsize the fleet, essentially, by creating a mass of bubbles under them. I mean, that's kind of how, sea mines and torpedoes work anyways. The idea is when they explode, they release a lot of gas. That gas forms bubbles, and those bubbles essentially mess with ships. I can't say it's necessarily poor planning on anyone's part that they failed to understand that Lelouch would bomb whatever that complex was. Okay, so Zero, he's playing a dangerous game here, essentially look, we're gonna take that special Nippon zone, so if you shoot me, you're violating your orders and all that. Alright, so he seems to have weaseled his way out of more conflict. Alright, well that's it for this episode. If you've enjoyed it, then by all means, tune in for the next one. See you, Space Cowboy.